So we'll take up the minority report after we take up the bill. Representative Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, I recommend it do not pass on 1461.
We have a motion for a do not pass. Representative Johnson, is there a second? Second. Second by Representative Kelch. Discussion. Representative Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I know the way that this is going to go down and the way that this has been pushed today. I would like the record to show that, at least from my perspective, there has been an inadequate amount of time allowed for this bill to be considered, given the hundreds, if not thousands, pages of testimony that we received the day of the hearing, which was, a lot of it received less than 2 days ago, less than 48 hours, and that, you know, in my opinion, due process was not served here.
I absolutely disagree. Plenty of time was given to a lot of bills of this size with a lot of paper. We pushed them out a lot sooner time than this. We gave enough time for this. I talked to Representative Casper. We talked about the amendments. It was agreed once the amendments were done this morning, we're taking it up. The due process was served. Representative Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to echo that sentiment. This, to me, is one of the most important issues that is facing the people of North Dakota right now, and there's a lot of misunderstanding on both sides. We're all very well aware of that. We've got people talking past one another. We've got conflicting agendas. And this is dividing the people of this state. And it's our job as legislators to find a way to unite the parents and to unite the administrators and to bring the people back together to the same table. And I am really, personally, rather appalled at the level of resistance that I've encountered to trying to find a way to work to an amicable agreement between administrators and legislators and parents. And what's happened this morning in this committee is a perfect example of this resistance. And I think we've all got different ideas, and what Representative Casper's amendments have been attempting to do here is to try to find the middle ground, and try to find a way to bring everybody back together. We're divided right now in this state and across the country over this issue, and this is the only way in these short 80 days that we have to deal with these issues. I can't find any other way to try to work on this issue. It's very important to me and to many people, and so I'm just hoping that we can do the right thing. 1461 is a flawed bill. I grant that, and a lot of people understand that. I had a hard time even being able to think about supporting it, and I wanted to fix it. I wanted to find a way to bring everyone together so that we can all have our issues addressed. And I don't think that process has been served very well. From my view, I'm a freshman. I'm new to this, but we have such a short time to decide such an important issue, and anything that we could do to give time to this issue. I have a problem with 1461 as it stands. I don't know that I can necessarily support it, and I don't want to vote the wrong way. I don't want to be forced to vote in a way that I don't feel comfortable voting. I frankly don't want to vote yes or no on 1461 because it's flawed, and that's why the amendment process is important. And so my heart goes one way, my mind goes another, and I have serious concerns with the treatment that this issue is being given, and I hope that we don't create a larger rift between legislators and administrators and parents in this state. We need to do something to repair this problem.
Representative Johnson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. You know, over the last 20 years, we've worked hard in this committee for the ones that are still here and the ones that have gone before us here to address the concerns of parents with the law and homeschooling because they don't want to participate in public school. And I think that's evident in all the bills we get in order addressing homeschool needs. I think we've taken care of that segment of our population pretty good. You know, certainly we just had the hearing the other day, but we've been working and listening to folks since the summer on this issue. It didn't start a couple days ago. It all come to a head here a couple days ago, but we certainly have heard both sides of this, and I think we had an opportunity the other day to hear from the folks that have been working on this since 2005. this process of creating our standards and stuff didn't start yesterday. It's been going on for 10 years. So, you know, the amendments, a few days ago, we didn't want nothing to do with the Department of Public Instruction. Now we've got amendments before us that we want them to head this study. So, you know, it's, if anything has been suddenly dropped upon us, this is. So it's my reason to just get rid of this bill and see how it's going to work out there.
Representative Kelch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to, my sentiments are with the last speaker and with you. Unfortunately, the other day, the Crow people chose to have 3 out-of-state people take most of the time. That I don't think understood what's going on in North Dakota, how the standards were vetted by 65 people or whatever it was, 64, 65 people. How it's been administered. And some of the people that handed in, it was kind of rote information. We heard it over and over and over from the same people. The emails we've been getting are standard emails that kind of over and over and over. They're different people, but it's the same message. And then if you go to the people against it, it was the people that are in the classroom, the people that are administrating it, the teachers. We didn't have a belly of parents come up and say this is terrible. They're the ones that are working on the program. And I think you saw, I sent from Edgley, North Dakota. He said, we've been teaching this for 3 years. We have one of the people that helped develop or vet the standards. We have not heard one parent come in and say, what's wrong here? What are you guys doing? And that echoed all through my district. I've been to several and talked to lots of superintendents. That would echo that same.
Representative Zucchi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I respect Representative Olson, but I have a little different philosophy about bills that come to these committees. I do not think that it's our responsibility to take bad bills and try to work them into some type of a compromise or something that people are satisfied with. I have heard this repeatedly, that it's more important that we kill bad bills than it is we try to further those. And so, and I've seen us do this already some. There are bills that are just bad bills. And again, I don't think it's our responsibility to try to turn them into something that is palatable for everyone. So, thank you.
Representative Rohr.
Thank you, Chairman. I want the minutes to reflect that I concur with Representative Olson and Representative Kaufman that the committee was not given enough time to review all the information that we received from parents, because we were limited on the amount of time, or they were limited on the amount of time to actually come up and testify on behalf of the bill. And secondly, in all due respects, in 2011, when we heard the SLUP bill, the UND local bill, which didn't have any direct accountability to formation of our students in the state of North Dakota, we spent more time on that bill than we did on this one, which does.
Well, that's true, but that doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing in 2015 or this bill. And, you know, we were given lots of paper, a lot of stuff to do, and you all have plenty of time on your own time to read that stuff. So it is not our requirement to give you just between 8 and 5 to read it. So we've been very well at this subject for 2 years, and we've heard from both sides repeatedly over and over again. I think we heard somebody, I got to believe most of the testimony we've heard from both sides was not really earth-shattering or some new information on either side from anybody. So again, it's your responsibility to read that information when you're given it. And again, we do that for other big bills. We do that for other hearings that we have. So I believe there's plenty of time to do it. And that's what we do. We're under, as Representative Olson's frustration is that it's only 80 days. And Representative Olson and I have talked about this. And that's his frustration. He'd like to have more time. And as I've told him, we're not Congress. We don't have 6 months to work on a bill, right? Yeah. And he'd like to have more time to vet it out. But the process works the way it does. We have 80 days. We get it, the Senate gets it, and if it goes to conference, we then put a polish on it and really tighten it up at that time. So I think we all share your frustration, Representative Olson, because there is not enough time for some of these long, complicated bills, but the system is designed the way it is, and we have to work within those parameters. So, but you know, I see where this is going as far as harping and saying that there was not nearly enough time to develop this. I don't believe that for a second. You all have received hundreds of emails, phone calls, talks in the hall, those sorts of things. So we have to do our homework when we're not on the clock, and part of that is to read the information that we're given. Representative Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess bringing it back kind of to pertaining to the bill, and I guess my reason for kind of declining the amendments and things is, you know, we really are ratcheting down the Department of Public Instruction, and I don't know that necessarily that's the right way to go about something if we don't necessarily simply like something that an elected official, mind you, does. So I guess that's my first concern. And then second, I just wanted to appreciate the kind of the system in North Dakota, and that at least the bill got heard, you know, because quite frankly, in a lot of states, they may not even get a hearing on it. So I'm glad that we live in the state we do, and that we've done the process that we have.
Yeah, and Representative Boyce, I share your concerns too, and that's one of my main concerns. And quite frankly, I was surprised to see the bill. I expected the bill to remove Common Core standards, but I was quite surprised to see half the bill is to basically remove the position of superintendent of Department of Instruction. That was really quite a shock to me. I don't understand why they went that route, to be honest with you. I think it benefits their cause. So, Representative Wilson.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, and I'll try to be brief. Your points about the fact that we have to work within a constrained system, I've been learning that firsthand, and I've expressed to you and many others my frustration. You understand that. And frequently, Representative Zuki, I also echo your concerns that it's better to, in most cases, kill a bad bill. And a lot of times that's what we've done. But on the other side of that coin, I've also been told many times that, you know, this bill isn't perfect, we don't have time to work on it, let's pass it and let the Senate take care of it. I've heard that numerous times, and we don't have enough time in these committees to deal with these bills with the level that they deserve and require. And so a lot of times we're asked to take an imperfect bill and pass it over to the Senate and wait for conference. And I'm a perfectionist. That's one of my flaws. I want things to be done right, and I'm very frustrated in that pursuit here. I don't know what the right way is to pursue finding a way to remediate this issue between the parents that we've heard from, and we did hear from a lot of parents in that committee. It's unfortunate the way leadership behind this bill, the bill's sponsor, I disagree with a lot of his methods. I disagree with a lot of the things that he wants to do in this bill, and I disagree with the way the committee was handled. The parents should have been more involved, and I've got stacks of paper. I've got testimony from parents here that are talking about problems they're having. There's so much that we haven't heard. And it's really unfortunate that they're not being represented, and that the bill sponsor, the way he carried about that committee hearing, I really wish we could have actually heard from the parents themselves. I agree with that. And so it's an imperfect bill, but it's an issue that needs to be addressed, and I don't see any other way to address it than specifically with this bill. We can't amend any other bill. We can't work on any other bill. This is the only one that can possibly be modified to deal with this specific subject under North Dakota law. We can't change the bill to a different subject. It has to be materially the same thing. And so how we get there, I don't know. But I know that we need to carry a bill forward that we can work with. If the Senate needs to change it, we need to address the concerns of the parents somehow, because it's clear that we have a rift, and this is nationwide. I don't know what we're going to do about this, and I'm very concerned.
Representative Huntsford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And committee, you know, I've heard all of the process. And it just seems to me that through the whole thing, much of the unhappiness with the present Common Core has had so much to do with the process. All the way from the National Common Core, coming down to North Dakota, and then our 60 educators reviewed it, and as we go from when it started all the way down here, much of the discussion in committee was about the process. I didn't hear very much at all about what's going on in the classroom. I didn't. And to me, the important thing is what's going on in the classroom. What's happening with the kids? Is it good for them? Is it not good for them? I did go to my 10 schools in my 3 counties and talk to teachers and talk to counselors and talk to superintendents way back last fall. And for the most part, certainly there was an odd teacher or two that had some concerns, but for the most part, they felt we've gone into this for 2 or 3 years, and they indicated that their kids were buying into it. It's a process that's going to take time. It's new. The younger kids, as they get first, second, third graders, it's going to be a transition, but as they get into this and move up to the higher levels and get used to it, they're going to be further ahead. That's basically the message I heard in visiting with many educators. So I go back again, what's happening in the classroom? And we find that out not by the process it went through, we find that out by going into the schools and talking to the teachers who work with these kids every day, who love them and want to do what's best for them.
Representative Hunsker, I did go in the classroom. I was invited to go to Beulah and Hazen classrooms last summer and to see what they were doing with STEM and how Common Core was working in regards to that. And I got to tell you, the only people with more excitement in their eyes than the teachers were the kids. And it was a wonderful thing to see. I spoke to the teacher at length, and she told me, I asked her about the Common Core standards specifically. I said, do you like them? How are they working? She said, you know, they're not perfect, but this was in regards to math. She said, it's not perfect, but we're getting there. We really like it. She said, whatever you do, do not pull the rug out from underneath us. She says, it's working in the classroom. And I agree with you. I've been asked many times by my colleagues in the legislature, what do you think on this bill? And my answer has been, I'm not a teacher. Go talk to your schools, your superintendents, your teachers, ask them what they're hearing. And you're right, they're not hearing much. I talked to Bismarck Public Schools, the largest school district in the state. They're not hearing hardly anything at all. The other side says, well, you know, they don't care, or they're too busy, they don't care. I don't believe that. I think every parent, no matter what side of this issue you're on, care about their children. I very much disagreed with the superintendent the other day who said the other side didn't, and that was uncalled for. But so it's out there, and I respect the other side. People supporting 1461, they have every right to disagree and stand up for what they believe. But I think when you take a look at the overall picture, we're not hearing it. We have 110,000, maybe 117,000 kids in the system. When you think about the private schools in there, figure we maybe have 50,000 parents in this state. 50,000 parents? Are we hearing from a percentage of those? No. I mean, again, not to discount the people that are against Common Core. That's their right. But I think when you look in the overall picture, when you see everything, we step back and really put it in perspective. I think people support it, and I think it's shown in the Gallup poll that they did last year. That showed North Dakota residents have the highest approval rating of the K-12 system, and that's part of the reason why I do oppose this bill, because for 2 reasons. We're only in the second school year of this. It seems to be working, and again, it's not perfect, but as the 2 ladies said who wrote the standards, it's moving. It's a living, breathing document. And the other part of the reason I'm not supporting this is just frankly, it guts the superintendent position in DPI. And that is why I am not supporting this bill. Representative Mon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hesitate to speak, but I just want to make a few comments that, first of all, Representative Schatz, I'm glad that you offered a divided committee report, and I think that is an important conversation that we need to have on the floor. I needed to clarify, because Representative Olson had mentioned that we often will send bills that are not in their perfect form on, and that's a problem. Every bill that leaves a committee, that leaves the chamber, has to be, you have to presume that that bill could become law in that form. Never assume that a bill will be changed. That's a risk. You always have to, if you pass it out, you need to be comfortable that that could become law. And that's, which is why I'm happy we have that divided committee, because it gives us and it gives the chamber time to consider the alternative version of the bill. I have issue with the amendment, with the divided committee report, because it makes changes that were not discussed in hearings, and they are quite significant. They are substantial changes. I reserve my right to vote for that on the floor, but I'm not comfortable voting and supporting those amendments today. It's the reason I voted against it. I also am reluctant to support 1461 in its original form. Frankly, I have two bills before me that I can't be comfortable voting for because they're not, in my opinion, ready to become law. The process is complicated. This bill was introduced at 4:30 on the final filing day. It's been discussed for over a year, and it's been discussed in the media, it's been worked on. It's the 6th version of the bill that has been drafted. And and I can't speak to the scheduling. Mr. Chairman, I know that you worked with the bill sponsor to schedule so that the professionals, so that those experts can come in and testify. And unfortunately, we have two versions of a bill that have a fiscal impact, no matter how you look at it. We joke about the fiscal notes and how they come up with those. The rule is that if it has a potential fiscal impact of $50,000 or more, it has to go to appropriations. And as Superintendent Baszler had mentioned, there may be a rewrite of a test if the amended version were to pass. That would potentially have a fiscal impact. So I can't speak to the timelines. I know that I don't like the system and having to work and become an expert on 1,000 different issues within a few weeks' notice. It's almost an impossible endeavor. I'm happy and glad that we have a divided committee report. It gives all of us, the 13 committee members and 94 House members, a chance to read up on this. But Mr. Chairman, I know that you're up against an impossible deadline, rock in a hard place. And, I know that we're going to hear a lot more over the next couple of days. I have a chance to figure out if that alternative version is a bill that can be accepted. But we're going to have this debate a little bit more and see how these bills can, if there's any possibility of reconciliation in the Senate. But with that being said, I'm going to have to support the do not pass motion and reserve the opportunity to learn a little bit more. And I'm going to have to take off here shortly.
Okay, wait till we vote.
Senator Heckman is in the back and scowling.
Okay.
So.
I'm going to keep him here, so I want Representative Mock to be here when we vote. So, real quick, committee, Representative Kaufman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a little bit disingenuous for us to use a deadline that actually is Monday, I believe end of the day Monday, as a reason to rush this through the committee. I do believe we all had an amendment before us today that would have simply stripped the money out of the original bill and not attached anything else that would have at least for the time being removed that requirement for money. I think we heard that it was regrettable that they weren't worried about what's happening in the classroom and in the school building and so on and so forth. Well, that's actually my concern as well. Most of the things that happened in this original bill didn't, it's what's not happening in the classroom or the school district or the state. It's happening what's happening out of state with a third-party agreement. We worry about the superintendent's authority to make these decisions, and yet we joined a group where she's willing to take 1/20th of that share. She's willing to lose her role by down to 1/20th where she had 100% control before. It's hard to be sympathetic of that erosion of power if it's being delegated anyway. And the whole purpose of this bill and the concern and really the debate over this issue as a whole is what's happening in North Dakota, what's happening abroad. Who's making decisions for us? Is it legal for us to delegate that authority? And is it right? And this bill needs more deliberation, and I regret that we're where we are.
Representative Hunter.
Yeah, I just want to say to the committee, thank you, Mr. Chairman, that my remarks are based on what I visited in the classroom of my district. And certainly I have utmost respect for folks who do not support Common Core as it is. And they have their strong feelings, and that's the way it should be. And debate like this should continue. So just going back, my remarks are basically from the constituents of where I serve and go with that.
Representative Schreiber back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick note, first of all, I believe the students come first, number one. I've had this statement directed to me that we want no federal intervention in our schools. Well, the parent that was speaking was had an autistic child under a program that is a federal program, Public Law 94-142, which I previously mentioned. I am so concerned that what is being said is basically rote, repetitive information that if they really knew what they were saying, they would not say it, because their child would not be getting service, because it is a federal law. So it's almost how you market appropriately is one of the problems. And again, they have to do a better job of marketing this program and what it's doing for our students. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. All right, Mr. Schatz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Sunday, they have these shows. This week with Chris Wallace is one of them. And I was watching it this week, and he was, the governor of Texas and Bill Bennett were debating this. And the governor of Texas said, here's what's going on with Common Core. Go Google 9 + 6 Common Core. And I thought, well, okay, I'll do that. And I think if we all did that, you might have an idea of what's going on in the classroom. Representative Humster, I mean, that's one of the things people have come and said they can't help their kids do their homework because they don't understand it. I guess that's kind of the gist of the bill.
All right, I think we've heard enough. Any other I hate to ask a question. Any other questions? No? All right, seeing none. This will be debated on the floor, and I'm sure it'll be debated well after the session has ended. So I want to thank everybody for their hard work in there. So clerk will take the roll on the do not pass on 1461.
Do not pass 1461. Representative Mock.
Yes.
Chairman Nathie.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Shaw.
No.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Koppelman.
No.
Representative Boyson.
Yes.
Representative Meyer.
Yes.
Representative Olson.
No.
Representative Rohr. Representative Schreiber-Beck. Representative Zuebke.
Yes.
Representative Hunsker.
Yes.
Representative Kelch.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-4. Representative Schreiber-Beck will be the carrier.